maybe I wore the right shirt today for one specific format, but for those that missed it, the banned and restricted announcement that was due out today came out just now, and we got some stuff to talk about in both formats. First things first, Classic Constructed is where 99% of the speaking from this article takes place. As you can see, they wrote a full-on diatribe, and it was really good. I read the entire thing top to bottom just now, and it's really solid, like reflecting on how they go about the process of building up these heroes, and they wrestle with the back and forth of, you know, whether or not they want heroes that immediately come out and like reset the metagame because they are like the best heroes ever, or if they want heroes that come out and they build over time. And they talked about how they tried to do a little bit of both with the most recent Omens of the Third Age set with the heroes, and also they talked about something that I brought up on last week's stream, the idea of when you start planning to reprint or recreate a hero for a specific card pool. They talked about that, which is really, really interesting. So I would highly recommend you dive into this portion right here if that's something that you're interested in, because I really enjoyed reading about that. But the actual changes are thus: Electromagnetic Somersault. Yes, you remember that card? The red was nuts. Well, Electromagnetic Somersault Blue is back on the menu because Ziggy is playable, and so you can play this in Ziggy, and you can fetch 2 attack action cards with cost 2 or more and put them back into your hand so they can double block, or you can play one, you know, that sort of stuff. That's back on the menu, which is kind of funny to me because, like, Ziggy, out of all of the heroes so far from this set, Ziggy's like the most successful one of the bunch, and they give him a card that makes him even better. So I guess that's part of them answering the question from the community, basically saying, when are these heroes going to actually have a big impact? But this was a hero that like already had impact. It just over this weekend won a national championship. I think it was one of the smaller national championships. Don't quote me on that, but it just won a national championship. It was 3rd place at US Nats. I mean, like, this is, of the 3 heroes, it's like the one that probably needed it the least. It's just so funny to me. Either way, Skyward Serenade also coming off of the ban list, and this card's busted, and it's literally busted because it wasn't supposed to be printed the way that it is as you see it right there. It wasn't supposed to have natural go again. But you know what? Everyone that wants Aurora to immediately be good is going to get their wish, because this card is definitely on the right track if you're wanting to push that hero. And it's quite powerful. So it will definitely create a new puzzle for people in Classic Constructed to go into and tinker with. Pro Tour is on the horizon, and all of these changes, of course, are going to be affecting the Classic Constructed format, not the least of which is going to be Talk a Big Game coming back, of which they spoke very little about, which is ironic based on the name of the card. But Talk a Big Game is a card that they banned preemptively before Super Slam came out because there was shenanigans. We'll just put it that way. There were some shenanigans that could be had by choosing a number and dealing damage and creating might tokens and then doing it all again. Well, it's there on the table, on the chopping block for you, making you ask the question what hero would want to do any of that. Spoiler alert, there's several, but one very short one comes to mind. And finally, Remembrance is indeed banned, and they said it's time to see what a world without Remembrance would look like. And, well, I'll just tell you this, that is going to change a lot. Funnily enough, I think Victor Goldmane is actually just gonna be gone after next weekend. Like, I think he's got to like win like 1 thing or 2 things to cross the finish line. So there's a very real possibility that he joins Prism, Awakener of Soul, and ends up crossing, you know, over that thin veil, pushing through the veil to Living Legend status. Those are the changes to Classic Constructed. And again, I think this was a really good read. So if you want to know like the thought process about like how far they twist the dial towards a, you know, like a immediate like playable hero, not just playable, immediate like S tier hero that comes out versus a hero that they want to build up over time, which they said Ziggy was a hero that they wanted to build up over time. I just think that's really interesting. And they also pointed to the Aphrodisias. I can't pronounce this Aphrodisias. It's got Dais, it's got Aphrodite. I can pronounce it that way. Aphrodite. Aphrodite, I can't do it. I'm not doing that. So Aphrodite game plan apparently is going to be supported going forward. Nevertheless, what I am chuckling to myself about is that I get to play one of my favorite cards of all time in Silver Age. Cash In is unbanned. And let's look at what they said about... oh, wait, no, they didn't say anything about anything related to the unbanning in Silver Age. Okay, nevertheless, I can tell you what this means. It means that Gravy Bones gets to draw 2 cards. That's what it means. It also means that Kasai has a payoff. The like Kasai 2, by the way. Kasai 2 Electric Boogaloo has a payoff now, thanks to Cash In and her ability to create gold. That's pretty awesome. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be able to play with Cash In because that card is so much fun, and it broke my heart when it caught the ban, and rightfully so, of course, with gold being as easy and available as it is with pirates. I understand drawing 2 cards quite good. Pot of Greed, I heard about that card, right? Drawing 2 cards because you created a gold, yeah, that's a good one. So now we get the good one, and that's really exciting because there is a current I don't know, like there's this interesting, it's not even really a triangle, but it's like a question and answer style meta that we have here. And of course it starts from Briar and the decks that beat Briar, and then you have like Oldhim and other Guardians that are providing a fairly consistent answer to that. And then after that, it's sort of just like this amalgamation of like what you run into and what you end up like playing against and your overall tournament run on whether or not you're a true answer to that meta. Cash In provides yet another wrinkle to that because it means that Warriors and Gravy Bones now have access to playing a little bit more on the like against the Guardians. Of course, I would argue that Gravy had a fantastic time at the Guardians already. The real struggling point for Gravy is the fact that, Dromai just eats you alive. And Dromai possibly being an answer out there as well for a variety of decks. That makes things tough, but you're also now getting the wrinkle of a Kasai or any other warrior that can lean into Cash In. This being unbanned now allows you to kind of mess around with the warrior versus guardian matchup, or really the Kasai versus guardian matchup in a real and meaningful way. And I do think that that is a really underrated thing right now. Speaking of warrior cards, I'll skip over Seeds of Agony for just a moment, which is a sentence that almost no one has ever said because that card's crazy. Steelblade Shunt becomes unbanned in all colors. So all of those decks, those, Dorinthia Great Axe decks, the Olympia Great Axe decks are now back on the chopping block. You can play those decks again, and they are essentially as powerful as they were before, outside of Sirens of Safe Harbor. That was like the only card that right now can't be played that was being played before. This is a very real option if you're considering going to some of, the last chance, like the World Championship qualifiers, or if you're just planning on playing in the next skirmish season, or if you're like me, going to be going to Pro Tour and playing in the Showdown. Like Steelblade Shunt being back is a huge deal because it means that the fatigue style decks, or like the Dorinthia Great Axe, like the slower version of that, not the Hair on Fire version, is now super playable as well thanks to Steelblade Shunt's being back. So that is a real consideration. Seeds of Agony is a huge one. They did not say this, but I think that they are quite aware that Chain came back in a state where people are just not wanting to pick him up. And I think they want to give some pieces back to allow Chain to do some things that he just can't do right now based on the card pool. I think their hitting of the 2-cost Runegate cards was correct, and it was very effective at neutering the hero. Unfortunately, I think the Runegate effect with Chain is the true biggest issue, and by hitting those cards and not hitting it like anything else, it makes those specific like Runeblade synergies like that Vincent would tap into, or any other like Runegate possible like decks, it just like completely shuts them down because now they don't have access to the 2-cost Runegates. So I would like to see them like try to make Chain playable in a format that he doesn't immediately break in, but also not kill the rune blades that, specifically Vincent in this case, that want to do the rune gate thing. Because the rune gate keyword is cool, but you need to jump through those hoops in order for it to be not super toxic. And right now, Chain just kind of gets away with it. So maybe they go and they completely like ban the rune chant generators. Like I could see that being the shift to allow someone like a Vincent to still be functional in the format. And then finally, Vigorous Smash Up is unbanned. And this was one of those early bans that was kind of a head scratcher. And then KO took real good advantage of like all of these like smash up cards and really all of the clashing within the Silver Age format just always went his way. And so them bringing it back while he's on the bench makes a ton of sense. And it's also, again, providing another class that's pretty good against Guardian, the ability to play against Fatigue Guardian, while also still answering some of the like Briar power level. So like Rhinar himself is a solid pick if you're worried about, playing an all Guardian meta because they can't make effective use of all of their efficient blocking cards because you take them out of their hand. But then you can also, play this into a Briar and block with this and get a Vigor token and try to, curb around and like gain some equity in that matchup over the course of like a turn cycle or two. So this is a really fun unbanning and a shifting of the puzzle of a format that I wasn't sure about and I am really enjoying now. Like you've got Blaze, who's doing well, but has some serious hard counters across both other wizards and like fatigue style decks. You've got Briar, who's, still winning and won, I think this past weekend it was. But also has to go toe-to-toe with decks that want to take the game long and fatigue. You've got Guardians who have provided both effective answers on aggressive and on the defensive game plans. And now you have Steelblade Shunt back that gives you more warrior play. You've got Cash In, which is just crazy, man. I'm so excited to play with Cash In. And I got to do some messing around with this with Gravy Bones because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. This was a fun banned and restricted announcement. I am excited to see how it all plays out. And if you want to let me know what you think about it down there, I will be reading and responding to your comments. Of course, if you like this type of content, make the number go to the other number. As always, thanks for watching.